guys. Now, I know what you're thinking. I hate getting sick. I hate getting a cold. COVID ruined our lives. I get it. I totally do. But humans are not the only ones on this planet who get infected by viruses. In fact, every type of living organism on this planet is susceptible to viral infection, even tiny microscopic algae floating in the middle of the ocean. I study viruses that infect a type of this algae that lives in our salt marsh called diatoms. Diatoms, despite their really tiny size, have really huge roles in sustaining the health of our coastal ecosystems. They hold together the sediment in our salt marsh, preventing erosion and protecting our habitats and homes. They also produce a ton of oxygen that we breathe every day. Most importantly, they sequester nutrients from the environment and create the basic food web for all of our coastal ecosystems. So what happens when these diatoms get infected? Well, something really scary for us. They burst open and release all those nutrients into salt marsh sediment. Well, this might sound bad. You might be saying, Bri, that sounds like viruses are the bad guys. It's actually exactly what is supposed to happen to keep our coastal ecosystems healthy. When all those nutrients are released into the sediment, other organisms can take them up and support proper biogeochemical cycling that supports the health of our coast. This balance is so precarious, and just the right amount of diatoms need to be living and dying in order to support that health of the coastal ecosystem. So you might be thinking, what happens when this balance is out of whack? What if too many diatoms are getting infected, or not enough? Well, that's where my research comes in. I'm trying to figure out what in the environment is actually driving higher or lower levels of infection in these diatom populations. How I do this is I go out into the salt marsh and take sediment samples across different seasons and across different elevations. And I also report a bunch of environmental characteristics. Things like temperature, sunlight, nutrients, things that also can make us sick, that might make the diatoms more sick. When I have my sediment samples, I bring them back to the lab, and I stick them under this super cool glowing microscope that actually lets me see the viruses inside of our diatoms. This is really cool because I can figure out how many diatoms in each sediment sample are infected, and therefore what proportion are getting sick based on different environmental drivers. I have these numbers and I correlate them with all those different factors, nutrients, light, temperature, and figure out what is actually correlated with higher or lower levels of infection in the sediment. By doing this, we can look at what in the environment is making our coastal ecosystems healthy and what is making them less healthy. Under changing environmental conditions, such as sea level rise or higher temperatures, knowing these tiny impacts of viruses, some of the tiniest things on our planet, have huge roles in supporting the health of our coastal ecosystems. So while viruses might seem really scary and unhealthy to us, they're actually the exact thing our salt marshes and our coast needs to stay healthy.